This is the Organizational Health Advantage podcast with Keith Hadley and James Felton, principal consultants at Table Group. They're in the business of coaching leaders to build strategic focus and cultural alignment that leads to amazing results. Welcome to the Org Health Advantage.
Hello and welcome back to the Org Health Advantage podcast. Keith, it is good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you too, James. Doing great.
Yes. I'm excited for this because I'm going to interview you. You reached out and said, I've got an idea around working genius for leaders.
Yeah.
And so how would you tee it up? Because it really is your topic that I'm going to discern and poke holes in.
So
Just kidding.
that's good. We might not agree on this. In fact, we
Yeah.
specifically didn't do a lot of prep because I wanted to get James's wonder and discernment on these ideas. They might not be that great, but we always talk about working genius is, hey, these are the 6 activities that everything that gets done, every innovation, every project has to go through 6 activities. We tell people that everybody has a 6-letter job. Here's my provocation is I think that a CEO or a team leader doesn't need to embrace all of the geniuses in the same way. I think there are certain geniuses that are more required of the CEO to make sure that they happen than others. And so I'm going to make a case for why CEO needs to be the chief wonderer, the chief discerner, and the chief galvanizer. But they don't need to be the chief inventor, enabler, or tenacity person. That's my provocation.
Okay, Keith, I'm really excited about that. And I guess on the surface, I could agree that this isn't like a democracy of working genius here or a socialization of working genius, but why those 3?
So whether a CEO has the working genius of wonder or not, I think it's the CEO's job to give the team permission to wonder. This whole idea occurred to me in a meeting I was in with the team, and the team was really hesitating to go all the way back up to the top and wonder, like, are we even in the right business? Are we thinking about our product in the right way? Do we really understand our customers? And they were so hesitant to give themselves permission to go back up to that level that they stayed in kind of like execution, non-innovation in their thinking. And they were taking an offsite where we should have been highly, highly strategic, and they were just focused on like status quo implementation. And I think part of it is because even the leader wasn't going there. And so I think even if you have a leader who's like a discerner tenacity or enablement and tenacity, like nobody else on the team can push the whole team into wonder. If it's not the team leader, the person who brings us up to wonder is going to frustrate everybody. And especially if that frustrates the leader, it's going to shut it down. So that's my first provocation is I think no matter what a leader's working genius is, the leader needs to step up into the role of chief wonderer.
Yes.
Are we seeing the problems? Are we identifying the opportunities? Are we creating space for us to even do that kind of reflection? Or do I dismiss it when it happens?
Gotcha. So I'm understanding now and what your point is, and I agree with that. Like, that, that yes, we need time to be in wonder, and if the leader doesn't push for it, a group of people who don't have it or resists it, even worse, then it won't happen. And we do deal with a lot of leaders who don't have wonder as a genius and might even get frustrated themselves because they might be thinking more of like, how do we make the best use of this time? Let's get some things done. And it just curtails the wonder. And so that team would be stuck in status quo thinking. And of course there's a time and place for that, but we also need that wonder. And I think you're right in that even somebody who has it is going to be really going uphill if the leader doesn't embrace it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did an offsite recently where we were just literally going to do a 10-minute recap of their team's clarity. And there was a new member of the team who was just like, I don't agree with this business definition. And I was just like, oh gosh, here we go. But you know what?
Yes.
She was right. And
Really?
it ended up turning into an hour conversation. And it was like, then the whole team finally joined her. Of course, she had wonder. She finally joined her up at the top and said, yeah, you're right. You're bringing up some good things. And of course, she didn't have the invention to say, here's what it should be. It was just like,
Right.
but it was like, yeah, creating that space. Okay. So that being said, I do think it's okay for the leader to then skip invention and just go right down there and be ready to discern. So I think the leader needs to be the chief discerner. I do not think they need to be the chief inventor.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that. What? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I think it puts too much pressure on a CEO to say, you've got to have all the ideas. I think you've surrounded yourself with a lot of smart people in the different functional areas, and you can just say, hey, here's the problem we got to solve. What do you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so the way you're saying that about invention, they don't need to be the chief inventor.
Right.
But that's saying they need to be the chief wonderer. I don't think you're saying that really. They need to be the one to push for wonder.
Yes.
They need to be the one to make it okay to wonder, to embrace it, to invite it in.
Yep.
Just like they would with invention. Whoops. And so I go back to that story of like Alan Mulally when he first got to Ford and there was a problem on the hatchback of one of their cars at the Ford Edge. And everybody looked to him for the answer. He's like, I don't have the answer. I don't know cars.
Right.
I know airplanes. I need your help here.
Yeah.
I think that's also like what you're saying about wonder.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's like it almost is, maybe it's the same concept of like creating space for invention.
Yes.
But I do think there is a unique role. If we skip invention for a second, there is a unique role of discernment on a team, and that is like whether the leader has discernment or doesn't have discernment as their genius.
Agree.
Like at some point, everybody will look to the leader and say, like, okay, so what is the decision here? Now, maybe they can continue to invite more discernment, but eventually, like they need to, what I would say, be the chief discerner, and that's where I'm giving a leader a pass if they don't have that genius of invention to like look. Maybe it is similar. Like you have to create space for invention. You don't need to be the chief inventor. So it's actually really okay if you don't have invention, but you can't abdicate discernment.
Yeah, that one I'm in full agreement with you on.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be ties on a team. There's going to be, a few sides. And they'll just keep spinning. And in fact, if there's a lot of discernment on the team, they'll just like keep churning through that discernment loop.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to bring that to closure.
Yeah.
And so I do agree with you there. Even if it's just like, boy, this has been a great conversation. I appreciated that. I appreciated that comment. Hey, here's my decision. You don't even have to engage in the discernment conversation as it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you do have to bring it to a close.
That's a better way of saying it. What I was saying is being the chief discerner implies that they need to be verbally doing the discernment out loud for everybody else to hear. I think you're right. It's the leader's job to lock in the discernment by bringing it to closure, which maybe brings me to my next point then I do think it is up to the leader to be the chief galvanizer. So maybe it's like the leader's job is to push them out of discernment into galvanize. But I think a leader has a unique role to be, as we say, obsessed with the team working on the wrong thing, obsessed with the team being not focused. And that's what galvanizers bring to the party is like they get obsessed when people aren't focused on the right thing. And so they're constantly pushing and reminding and changing people's to-do lists. That's what a galvanizer enjoys, is like knocking on your office door saying, what are you working on? Why are you working on that? Work on something else instead. Like, hey, are you thinking about this enough? So galvanizers naturally bring people back to the thing they should be doing.
Yes.
Now, if it's the wrong thing, that's super annoying, but I think that's what the leader needs to do, is to say, I can't delegate galvanize to our galvanizers. I think the leader has to have
it's the reminding piece. What I want to make sure leaders hear is there is a difference between galvanizing before a decision is made. So like galvanizing your idea.
That's different.
And then galvanizing after a decision is made.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
And
so I think
that can be hard with a DG leader.
Right. Yeah. If a leader has discernment galvanized as their working genius, then sometimes it's really hard to tell when they're discerning out loud and when they're galvanizing you on the idea that they've already landed on. And so it's like, have you already made this decision? It's that line between.
Yeah.
But back to my provocation is, if a leader does not have galvanize as their working genius, they are still responsible to be the chief galvanizer, like the chief reminder. They call a meeting and they say, okay, before we go any further, like, where are we against plan on this? Where are we against this thing? Like, I'm going to remind everybody why we're here, what we're focused on, what we should be doing, what I expect. And if that's your frustration in your leader, that's going to be exhausting, but you don't get to delegate that to anybody else.
Yes.
I don't think you can.
No, I agree with you on that. And as we recorded in a recent podcast, they need to do that context setting for an offsite as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, I agree with you, especially with that point of like after decision is made, they need to be the galvanizer and the reminder of the priorities.
Yeah.
So
the last two are tough because here's what I don't even think I agree with myself here.
Well, that'll make my job easier.
Yeah. I don't think does a leader have to be the chief enabler? Like, my starting point is I'm going to say no, just to be provocative.
Yeah.
But what are we missing if the leader absolutely fails and doesn't even pay attention to enablement? What are we missing?
Well, what we are missing is maybe understanding what's hard in each of the roles that is on their team.
Yep.
And maybe people being overworked or people on the threshold of burnout. It could be like a lack of awareness of maybe the leader likes to work on weekends and other people are like, hey, this is my time to recharge. And just, some of that interpersonal lack of awareness.
Yep. So maybe it's like the leader can't have a fundamental blind spot on enablement.
That's what I would say.
Maybe don't need to be the chief enablement person. Like if they rely on people on the team who have enablement, or if nobody in the team has enablement, they create space for it, right? So they can't overlook that stage. I just don't think there's as much pressure for the leader.
Yeah, now, and I would actually say, we just recorded a podcast recently with Alan Millard from the UK, and he talked about delegating and that being a huge issue on executive teams and a huge issue for CEOs and presidents. And I think if you have the enablement genius, you're more apt to not delegate.
That's true.
And so I think if you were the chief enabler on a team, that would prevent you from focusing on your highest and best use and delegating as a way to develop others.
Yep. Now, the case for enablement might be that if a leader does have enablement as their genius, then as the CEO, they're going to have a really good sense of what people need. They're going to have a really good sense of, like you said, what's going to be difficult and what kind of support folks are going to need. The watch out would be that they step in and do it themselves, as opposed to,
holding people accountable to it.
Holding people accountable instead of galvanizing them. So I would say, like, if your enablement is your genius as a leader, you probably need to go up one stage and do a little bit more galvanizing so that you're pushing other people to get started on stuff.
Yeah.
We worked with a leader once, James, who had enablement as their genius. And they were very slow to shrink the size of their team. And one of the reasons was they were so sensitive to like, well, I can't layer more under that person because they're already working so hard as it is. And they just felt really bad about that. And we're like, hey, I think it's okay to give that person more because that would be a forcing function for that person to get more organized and maybe do some layering on their team and cause them to become more efficient and break through. Like as it almost felt like they were coddling this person because their enablement was so high, they didn't want to push. So again, I'm back to like, I would rather see a leader be a galvanizer than an enabler.
Totally.
As long as we're not lacking it.
Right.
Now,
right.
Okay, I'm a little bit stuck on this last one. Like, I don't think a leader needs to be chief tenacity. That's the only one that doesn't work as a verb. Right? Like, what does it mean, a tenaciter? What does it mean if a leader is not the chief tenacity person? Initially, I had it on my list of musts because I was going to make a case that a leader has to make sure things get done.
Yeah, I agree with that. So here's what I would say. One, I think it goes back to galvanizing, and two, I think they can't get bored with a project the longer it takes.
Yeah.
So, but I think it goes back to galvanizing people all the way to the finish line.
Yes.
As opposed to, well, now I'm just like, let's move on to something new.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we see that, and so, yeah, I see it more as like not getting bored with a project and making sure you're galvanizing people all the way to the end.
That makes a lot of sense. So again, I think we're back up to if the leader is the chief wanderer, they make sure that we're always focused on problems and opportunities. If they're the chief discerner, they make sure that they're pushing things to closure and to clarity with closure, pushing decisions, putting an end to the discernment. And if they're chief galvanizer, I think they've got enablement and tenacity covered.
Yeah. So I agree. So at the end of this discussion, I'm with you on discernment and galvanizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they need to create space for the other stuff.
Yeah.
Create time, communication, things like that, accountability towards the other things.
So we're back to what we always say about Working Genius, that every job is a 6-letter job. Every team is a 6-letter team. Like everything that gets done at work has to go through all 6 stages. I think if you're a leader and you're listening to this and you naturally wonder, or you have the genius of wonder, the genius of discernment, the genius of galvanize, you're going to feel like, all right, I'm in my sweet spot after this. If you're a leader and your genius is like invention, enablement, tenacity, I would say you've got some work to do to make sure that you're not overlooking how much wonder, discernment, and galvanize is required of the leader because of the unique role that the leader has. And I think every leader in every meeting has kind of 2 roles. They want to be in the meeting with the team, debating, discerning, talking, like they want to be there on the field with them. They also need to step back and be, aware of where this meeting is at. Are we talking about the right things in the right way? Are we bringing it to a decision? So there is a singular role that a leader plays on a team. And I think that's around those 3 geniuses.
Yes. I love it. So
I don't know if people that hear this, though, are going to agree. And they will probably hear some things that we missed. And so I think, James, it would be great if you heard this and you have a thought, an insight to share, a disagreement or an opinion that you think we missed, we would love it if you would send us an email or comment on this episode and maybe get this as a bit of a discussion starter.
And if you want to text, here's Keith's number. It is, no, just kidding. All right. With that, I love this discussion, and I agree. I'd love to hear from others on this. And so we welcome the input and your thoughts, because I think a lot of people are processing this and dealing with it on their own before this podcast. And so they probably have a lot of good ideas and thoughts on this.
Yeah. One last thought before you close us off is we always do say that the best leader is a self-aware leader.
Yes.
And I think maybe that underlines everything that we've said.
Yes. Very
in this
true.
podcast.
Very true. And being aware of like what the team needs when.
Yeah.
So, all right. With that, thanks so much, Keith, for joining me on this. This is awesome. And to the viewers and listeners, thank you so much for joining us. And please share and subscribe. And we look forward to you joining us on the next Organizational Health Advantage podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Org Health Advantage. Your hosts, Keith and James, are helping leaders change the world of work and invite you to share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. For more resources on building stronger teams in organizational health, check out tablegroup.com.